Good morning. My name is Hans Melbranch. I'm the Associate Athletics Director for Development here at MTSU, and I want to welcome you to the Steve Peterson Champions Plaza dedication. Without further ado, I'd like to bring up our Director of Athletics, Chris Massaro.
Thanks, Thomas. It is really an honor to be here, and what a beautiful facility. So thank you, everybody, for coming out, and welcome to our campus. I want to thank the Peterson family for allowing us to do something like this. I share Dr. McPhee's sentiment. He is out recruiting for students in the Middle East and in Egypt today to convey our excitement, and it's an honor to dedicate this area of campus to Steve Peterson and the Peterson family. I'm so appreciative that the family shared their husband, father, and grandfather all these years with the MTSU family. And so what has really evolved is it's just kind of blended into one big family, and today is a celebration of that. You know, we're all kind of today reminiscing about some of the memories that we have of Coach Pete, and he's one of those guys that when you meet, you don't forget the first time you met him. And so I think that everybody's got their own kind of personal story of when they met Coach Pete, and mine is about 100 yards to your left, to my right, in front of like first base. I was here a day early on my interview. Cindy and I were for the interview for the AD position. We're just kind of walking around looking at all the facilities. So we're checking out the baseball park and walk over there by the gate, and there's a guy carrying a couple bags of chemicals out there, and he was all sweaty, and it was a day like today, kind of humid, and this is in 2005, and he comes over and says, "May I help you?" And because we probably looked a little bit lost, and he said, I told him what I was doing, that I'm a candidate for the athletic director position, and that didn't seem to impress him so much. And so getting to know him later, like if I really wanted to impress him, I should have grabbed one of those bags and helped out, and that would have really impressed him. But everybody's got their memories. He's one of those guys that leaves a mark in your life. And as I look back on my memories of Coach Pete, you know, it's like whether he was the coach or he was in retirement, I just think of him with that little styrofoam coffee cup and coming in and talking, whether it's in my office, at the baseball press box, whether it's at a basketball game at Murphy Center or on a fishing lake in Canada, you know, and it depended on the time of day what was in that cup, whether it was coffee or his tobacco juice, but that was always Pete, and he was always there for a conversation. And whenever you talked about to Coach Pete, he really talked about three things: his family, his players, and just baseball in general. And every now and then, I guess before, he wove in a little bit of fishing. And that was his deal. And they were all kind of related to each other. His family was always number one, particularly the grandkids. I don't recall anybody that I've worked with that has taken greater joy in their retirement and hanging around the grandkids than Coach Pete did. He's that way. And then it's his players. And his players are really his family. And so when we're building the stadium, the actual stands itself moved closer to the street. And in the old stadium, that the flags were in a circle in front of the main little press box area. And he had three really concerns as we got involved in the project, because the stands moved out further. It got closer to all the chill lines and pipes and steam pipes that run through that area, and it seems like we're always digging over here. And so we were told we couldn't put the flags kind of in front of the stadium anymore because of the penetration. And so he was really worried about where the helmet would go, where the little display of newspapers and kind of the bulletin boards would go, and the flags would go. And you think about what that really symbolizes later on is that helmet represented MTSU Baseball. It represents all generations. It's a signal in front of the stadium. It connects the past to the present, and it was really important to him, that helmet. And then the little bulletin board area where he kept track of the standings. It was any kind of quaint now that there's really not newspapers, but he would clip out newspaper articles and put those in the bulletin boards and all those kind of things. And then the flags were the championship flags were the highest of honor, and he was maniacal about those flags. And it seemed like every manager, whoever got the duty of having to take those up and down every day, it was a heavily supervised by Coach Pete because he wanted to make sure they were all done right and looked good. So those were his three big concerns. And then when we decided to put the flags kind of down here, it was really his idea to tie it to the football stadium and to develop this walk as a nice display of our baseball history. He liked that better because it had more of a public face than over by the clubhouse, because those were kind of the two areas that we discussed the most. So when John called and we're talking about some neat ways to dedicate the memory of Coach Pete, John's idea was to do something with the flags because they meant so much to his dad. You know, and so how can we enhance that? How can we make it look better? His dad was always, and Coach Pete would have loved to have seen everybody looking for their name this morning and gathering around and telling baseball stories. So what's happened is this area of campus will be Coach Peterson Champions Plaza, and it'll be a gathering place. It'll be a place where baseball alums will come and look for their name and tell Coach Pete's story. And that is really a complete legacy. I'm so thrilled that those stories will continue to be told because he's a guy that represents everything that you want and everything this university strives for. He's hardworking, he's honest, he was dedicated, he loved his craft, he believed in education, and his whole goal was to make students better. And that is the mission of this university as a whole. So this is a huge area of campus dedicated solely to Coach Pete. We'd like to keep adding some poles, some champions, and I think that'll just enhance the project over the years. So I'd be remiss if I didn't thank some people that were really involved in this project. Because it turned out to be a labor of love, and one of the guys that really kind of gathered up a lot of the information and got it going was Tony Stennett, and making sure all those are right. So, Tony, I'd like to thank Hans Mailbranch for kind of spearheading the fundraising on this. And Hans never had the opportunity to meet Coach Pete, but I think through all the stories and stuff that he feels like he knows him. So Hans, thank you for all you did for this as well. Again, I'd like to thank the Peterson family, John Peterson for your direct involvement, Andy Womack, Chuck Akers, Bill Marbut, our campus planning, Dixon Graphics. Didn't they do a great job with the plaques and all those kind of things? And mostly all the former players and fans and alumni that contributed to this project. This is really a great day, and we're so excited to open it. And the last person I'd like to thank is Steve Smith for his help, not only as his role as as chairman of the board of our board of trustees, but he's took this bull by the horns at the very end and helped our fundraising, contributed himself, called alums, and really kind of pushed it over the top. So Steve, thank you so much for what you did as well. So today it's with our great pleasure to dedicate to Peterson Plaza today. I am like everyone here. I look forward to telling the story of Steve Peterson and how he impacted so many people. We're all better off knowing Pete, and it's a great way to remember him for years to come. Let's keep those stories rolling, and thanks so much.
Thank you, Chris. Isn't this a beautiful space? Like Chris mentioned, there's a lot of people that contributed to getting us to today, and we're really excited. I'm really excited to be part of this project. As Chris mentioned, I never got the opportunity to meet Coach Peterson, but I have heard the stories, and I'm looking forward to hearing more. So if you get a call from a random 630 Chicago area code, pick it up. It's just me wanting to hear stories about Coach Pete. One of my favorite parts about this whole area is there's plenty of space to add more poles. And so I want to bring up the man that's currently responsible for filling up this space, your head baseball coach, Jerry Myers.
Well, thank you again. It's an honor and a privilege to be here. Wait, this is the lineup. Save that for later. So, but we had an opportunity to meet Coach Pete many years ago. Myself and one of my assistant coaches on the road recruiting. So I didn't know him well, but I feel like I've known him forever just because of the number of stories. And I know we keep reiterating the same thing, but hundreds of former players, the people he worked with, the people in the community. I mean, it's awe-inspiring all the way around, the impact that he had on so many people. This is a great dedication to Coach Pete, all the players that have played here, his family, everybody that he impacted in a positive way. He's left his fingerprints all over the program, and like I said, you know, rolling in here, and I know we've already said this twice, we're going to add to the number of polls we have out here. It will intimidate you to some extent if you didn't understand the history behind it. And if you understand it, the way I look at it is I've been doing this a long time, and almost 30 years in college baseball, and I'm still going, I know how I would do it, but how would Coach Pete do it? And whether it be addressing a player, trying to treat him fairly, trying to help that player academically, whatever it may be, I just have a feeling in knowing what he was all about, and knowing John, knowing the family, and having been around all the former players in the last year and a half that I've been here, the impact that he had is, you know, it can't be described. The stories, you know, of 20 years ago, a player coming back and said, Coach Pete said this, he did this, he told me this one time when I was not where I needed to be, and it got me where I needed to go, and got me back on track. And then those are stories, and those are comments that we don't realize sometimes as coaches that have such an influence. They'll be talked about and instilled, you know, decades later. What I hope this plaza is for a lot of you former players is a place where you feel like you can come back, show your kids, show your grandkids, nephews, family, and take a lot of pride in what you accomplished as a player, and have a chance to see that. But please, if you come do that, don't neglect to come stop by and see what we're doing. We're never too busy. Come in my office, come in the lounge, come in the out on the field if we're practicing. Please stop by and see us, and I've met a bunch of you along the way up to this point. So I can promise you that we're going to do everything we can to try to elevate the program in the right kind of way, and to make everybody proud that has any kind of connection with this event and this history and the proud tradition of the program. There's a lot of talent in here, some former players that look like they can still play, and I might need you in about an hour and a half. So, but again, the influence, again, with everything that's been done and talked about with the Peterson family and Coach Pete in particular, it's hard to fill those shoes. I don't try to fill those shoes. I try to represent the best way that I possibly can day in, day out, and try to make sure that our players know that history as well. They need to know about what happened before, and this is going to help them do that. Recruits are going to come watch and view this area as well. Families are going to come in. It's going to be a great spectacle for the program as well moving forward. So again, I won't take much more of your time. I know you want to hear from some other people as well. We appreciate your current support for the program, and again, go Blue.
Will Fraley, where are you at? I think I saw you earlier. I want to shout out Will Fraley. He played a really pivotal role in helping me when I first got here 2 years ago get connected with former players and educate former players on what we're trying to do here. And he helped me recruit former players to give back to the program and to this project specifically. And so, man, I just want to thank you for your help. I'm not sure we're here today without your involvement, so thank you. There are several hundred names represented on these plaques down this sidewalk. This area means a lot to a lot of people, but probably no more so than our next speaker. I want to bring up John Peterson.
Man, what a day. And I'd say it's probably when this first came up 4 years ago, I bet Hans and Chris didn't know they were signing up for a 4-year project. So I'm glad we're here, and how it turned out. I couldn't have imagined it turning out this well, and I hope everybody shares that with me. One thing, speaking on behalf of my family, my sisters and my mom, one thing we want to do, there's a lot of people to thank, and Chris mentioned a lot of people behind the scenes, but this was all done by donations, and a lot of people inside of this tent, and a lot of people that couldn't be here today, but all this was done by people's money and donating, not just former players, not just family members, but also people in the community that maybe didn't even graduate from MTSU. So I'd like to give everybody a round of applause, that anybody that donated or knows somebody that donated, because that's how this happened. And I mentioned the time frame, and for it to turn out as good as it did, it doesn't matter the time frame. And I appreciate Chris and Hans. That's who I worked with solely on this. Hans probably got to know me more than he wanted to, and probably sometimes got frustrated with me, but put up with it and saw this thing through to make sure we got here today. And how we got here, when my dad passed, and me and Chris, when I moved back, and we talked about doing something to honor his legacy. And first off, any of us that have had a career, if your employer wants to honor your legacy, it's an incredible feat, no matter what way they honor that. And so Chris and I talked, and how could we do that? And Chris shared about what those flags meant to my dad. And that kept coming back to me. And I'm not going to talk too much on that because some of you have heard me talk about that story. But also wanted to, if we were going to do something for my dad, it needed to encompass more people, because his success was made part by a lot of people, made part by donors like the Smith family and the Victories and other people along the way that created some of these other facilities. And then first and foremost, anybody that's been in sports or ever coached, you know nothing's ever won without the players. So I thought that was very important. We put a spot where players, coaches, managers, anybody that was involved with that team in that championship year needed to be honored. You look back, and there's 3 individuals, and if you fact check me, I could be wrong, but I know for sure these 3, but there's 3 individuals that have their name out there 4 separate times, meaning they won a championship every single year they stepped on the field. And it's Will Fraley, it's Mudcat Brewer, and Craig Revis. And I saw Will and I saw Mudcat. Craig's still winning, right? His team just claimed a region championship to go on to the state championship at Siegel High School. So he's probably practicing right now. But to show those three names, Mudcat's a Hall of Famer. He's got his name across campus. But to show all three of those names 4 different times, what an incredible feat. That's never been done. So being able to do that, and along with a lot of other ones that played roles, some high roles that went on to play big leagues or professional baseball, some that were just role players, but all formed a piece to make those happen. So love how it turned out with everybody being able to see it. And the great thing is, if they couldn't make it today to see it, they can always come back and see it again. Another important part was, let's get a permanent flag up. I guess probably because I had the tears of having to pull them down every single day, up and down, me and the managers, and how manual of a process that is. If there was, it wasn't just baseball games, if there was something on campus, football, whatever it was, those flags were going up that morning. And it usually fell, I'm not saying my dad was immune to it, but it usually fell to the volunteer assistant or the managers. So all the managers in this room will appreciate seeing permanent flags as well. But the reason for that also was to be able, when an alum comes by that's maybe in November or December, and that's the time they get to come to campus, that they can come out here and be able to see a decorated plaza. So that's the past, right? We're all invested here to get this program to the future, right? And that's what everybody has given that's gotten here, and that's what it takes, right? And Coach Myers said it best, right? We're working our way to there. But it takes the constant upgrades, the constant jumping on with facilities, the arms race and all this, and this is great for recruits to see, but it continues from there, right? If a program needs turf, we figure out a way to get turf. If a program, the Stephen B. Smith Clubhouse is an incredible building, right? And it's gone through some great upgrades. That was done by community and alums. And so maybe it sees additions to jump to that, because everybody in this tent, if they want one thing, it's to see more flags up. And my dad would tell you, he was the guy that had the vision for what was needed, but he had a lot of people help him get there. He did not do it by himself. He was just the coach, right? So it took players, it took community support, it took administration, it took alumni. And that's what it's always going to take, right? It's so he was just the one person, but I want you to know that this plaza, yes, it's his legacy and it's named after him, but it encompasses so many different people, and will encompass the future as we add more flagpoles. But if I get one thing across, it's a huge thank you, Hans, Chris, everybody else involved, everybody who gave their money to see this happen. This is the start. This area is only going to get better, right? This is a start, and it's a great start. But it's only going to get better with the years and added flagpoles and added areas for this, because this truly, to me, is a championship plaza for alums to share. So, thank you.
All right, that's it. That's it for the program today. Real short program. The most important part of this morning is the opportunity for you guys to come together to fellowship and to share stories about your experience, direct or indirectly, with Coach Pete. So I'm going to make a few announcements, and I'm going to let you get to it. Former players and families at 12:30. You guys need to be lined up right over here at this gate, and this is how you're going to enter into the field for your recognition before the game. Please be on time. Today's also senior day, and so we got the senior day recognitions that we need to do as well. If you don't already have your ticket, if you have not picked up your ticket, back there in the back, Jonathan Harris. Jonathan, wave your hand. Jonathan's got tickets and credentials for all the former players. And then, of course, we have your hospitality suite up there and ready for you as well. So 12:30, be lined up over here. And then in the back, thanks to Rick's Barbecue and alum Bryce Brents and his wife Anne-Marie Brents, we have lunch for our former players. So go ahead and grab lunch, some really good barbecue, enjoy that. And then once the former players are done, donors and fans, you can help yourself. But most importantly, please take more time to walk down this space, find your name, take pictures, and just remember the legacy of Coach Steve Peterson. Thank you so much for being here.
I think it'd be great if we get the family to take the picture by the marker, and then everybody else kind of fill in behind. I think that'd be really good pictures. So if we could do that before lunch, if everybody could just go that way, and let's get our picture taken there, that'd be fantastic.
Thank you. And I'm sorry, I forgot one more thing. If you made a donation to the Steve Peterson Champions Plaza, we also have one of these limited edition MT Baseball caps for you with the Peterson Plaza logo on the side. So I'll be set up right back over here, and if you made a donation to the Plaza, please come get your hat. Thanks again.